Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, fighting evil in all of its forms is more complex than we tend to give it credit for. And you know, if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Mash that button hard. Give us the old 5-star rating and the thumbs up on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, we're on the Instagram, we're on the Letterboxd, and we're on the TikTok. For some reason, I still don't understand TikTok, but that's another story for another day. But again, follow us at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because if we love to write about it and watch it and talk about it, we love it when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please, pay us a visit. In theaters and on Premium on Demand now, it's a unique story that we have. It's the story of, well, it's inspired by the actual files of Father Gabriele Amorth, the chief exorcist of the Vatican, who is played rather deftly in this one by the one and only Russell Crowe. And it follows Amorth as he follows a young boy's terrifying possession and ends up uncovering a centuries-old conspiracy that the Vatican has desperately tried to keep hidden. It's super fun that, you know, these stories get told, and that there is actually a chief exorcist for the Vatican. This is a true thing, and there is a whole department of it, and it kind of dives into a lot of that as well. This is really a very, very entertaining movie, and is directed by Julius Avery, who you might know from films like Overlord and a few others. It stars Russell Crowe, Franco Nero, and we had the unique pleasure of sitting down and talking with Canadian Alex Essoe, who plays sort of the mother of the possessed child in the film. It's a bit of a typical role, but she gets to sort of add some layers on it and give it some flavor, which is always a lot of fun. But if you have not checked it out yet, The Pope's Exorcist is available in theaters now, and it is also available on Premium on Demand, video on demand, from your favorite provider, be it Apple, iTunes, Google, whatever you use. But go check out the movie. But first, enjoy our talk with Alex, because between you and me, it's a darn good one. To kick it off officially, I mean, just thank you so much for the time today, and I mean, congratulations on the movie. I loved it. I got a big kick out of it.
Thank you. I thank you. I appreciate it. I liked it too. I saw it last week.
Nice.
I was like, oh my god, yay!
No, I mean, yeah. I guess walk me through the origin of getting the part.
You know what? I just did a self-tape. I did a self-tape. Yeah, I did a self-tape in my kitchen, and then I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and I was like, oh well, you know, which you kind of have to be like with auditions. Of course, yeah. You know? And then I got a message saying that the director wanted to have a Zoom meeting with me. We had a Zoom meeting, and then I got a call an hour later that I had got the part. It was amazing.
That's what I love about Julius's stuff as well, because he, like, especially when it comes to horror, it's not exploitive. It always sort of has a purpose, and it has like a drive to it. Like, talk to me a little bit just about sort of getting into the mindset of this character without it sort of being, you know, too horror movie tropey, if you know what I mean.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I really like that about all of Julius's stuff. I don't know if you ever saw Son of a Gun.
I did, yeah.
Oh my god, so cool, and what a cool role for Ewan McGregor as well.
Absolutely.
So he's a really cool guy, and getting into this, you know, I really appreciated the fact that, you know, normally my character would just be the screaming mother, in the background, my baby. And it was nice that they gave Julia some dimension and some inner life and, you know, an arc of sorts, something that she's struggling against before any of this even really happens. It was it was really nice. It's nice to have that freedom to you know, I don't want to say elevate what's on the page, but accentuate it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this was a location shoot, right? You were legitimately in Spain for this?
We were in Ireland,
Oh,
actually.
Ireland, right.
Yes. I mean, Spain also would have been great, but no, we were in Ireland, which is now my favorite place in the whole wide world. I would move there tomorrow if I could.
Now, I mean, I've got to ask because, I mean, Russell is so much fun in this movie, but I mean, on one end, like everyone's playing it completely straight, but you have this guy coming in with all this bombast and this Italian accent. I can imagine it created some moments of levity on set.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, and Russell himself is hilarious too. So, you know, in between takes, he'll just like drop this slick one-liner, and you're like, just. And so which honestly, especially for the really, really like deadly serious stuff, is
Right.
nice in between takes to kind of let the steam out a little bit
For sure,
before you
for
launch
sure.
back into it. But it also it gives an element of our characters to react to that. You know, and this is a very different role for him, I think.
Yeah.
He's you know, very his character has this sort of lightness and this jovialness, where he takes his work very seriously, but he doesn't take himself very seriously, which is really nice to work with as an actor. But even as a character, it does. His character has this way of confounding the people around him.
Right.
I
think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, even when Julia first meets him, like she's been going through it. And now this guy shows up and he's super happy to be there. And he's excited to meet everyone and get started. And, you know, like they're going to have a focus group on something. And the fact that he's able to walk that line, it really just speaks to what a master he is. And he really is. As an artist, he's such a master of his craft. Like there really are not a lot of actors like him. And I didn't know that he was even going to be in this movie until after I booked the part. So I was completely floored in the best possible way. I had to pinch myself.
I love it.
It was so cool.
Now, I mean, I've got to ask because you've done a few things with Mike Flanagan now, and I mean, especially in horror circles now with this, you're becoming a bit of a familiar face. And I mean, I'm curious, what is it about working in horror that allows actors sort of to play with those extra levels of emotions rather than sort of being in a box? Because it kind of feels like when you're inside horror, like the rules kind of get thrown out the window.
In a lot of ways, they do. Yeah. And especially working with Mike, you know, Mike likes to challenge his actors. He likes to give us, and I had said this before, but I feel very flattered that he has trusted me with such a diverse catalog of characters to play. I never play the same person twice or the same kind of person twice. There's always some kind of departure from what I've done before. And it's you know, I'm glad that he would trust me with those sorts of things. Horror at large, you know, not all horror is the same. There are so many subgenres within horror. And you know, as an actor, it's nice to work in a medium that has so few limitations creatively. There's so much that you can explore. Some of my favorite performances are in horror movies, even by actors who don't generally work in horror. And I mean, it's not like, you know, this is exclusively what I want to work in.
Well, of course, yeah.
Again, for sure. Like, actors don't really get to choose
Yeah, no,
where
yeah.
they star, or
Unless
where
you
they
get to
work
like a
on, or anything
certain,
like
yeah,
that.
but yeah.
Yeah, once you get to like, I'm the reason people are seeing this movie, then you can picky, choosy, but it takes so much work to get to that
Of course,
point,
yeah.
and so much audience familiarity to get to that point where the audience trusts you enough to make those decisions. Because at the end of the day, that's who it's for, is your audience. But I feel very lucky to have started in this genre, especially specifically on the projects that I have. Um, I've tried whenever possible to kind of lean more towards things that have something else going on, just so that it's challenging for me, because there is another aspect that's mostly screaming and dying, and I'm not so interested in that from an artistic perspective. Like, I can watch them, but I wouldn't necessarily want to play them, and it's exhausting too.
Well, I mean,
It takes a toll on you.
I mean, that's kind of why I like this movie, though, because it's scary, but you have to reason out the scary. It's not about the reacting; it's about reasoning it out and then reacting.
Yes, exactly. And the characters are allowed to try different approaches to the evil in the movie. As you say, it's not just screaming and crying. There is that, of course, but there's also these theological quandaries that the movie begs. There are also uh things connected to the Catholic Church that are real.
Yeah,
For example, like the character of Rosaria. Her character is inspired by a real person named Emanuela, who was a person who went missing. And there's actually a documentary about her on Netflix now. And the real Father Amorth, was very vocal in his criticism of the church for covering that up. And I thought it was very interesting that they would slide that in there as well.
yeah.
Like, and that's what I really appreciate about this movie, is that it does have the entertaining popcorn aspect, and I feel like it does that very well. It really delivers some great payoffs, but it also is very grounded by, especially Russell's performance. It really elevates the whole thing, but also the relationships that and the personal demons, the personal struggles of the characters.
Well, and I mean, that's something else too, because I mean, obviously, because there are some elements to truth. There was a real father. There were Russell's character was a real person. Before you go into a job like this, do you like sort of dive into the research and try to figure out who this guy was and how to react to him, or do you try to stay away from it all?
Well, I mean, if I had been playing him, I would have done that for sure. But I usually try to keep it to what directly affects my character,
Right.
and my character wouldn't have known who he is and doesn't know who he is when he shows up. I mean, out of personal interest, I did look into some of
but
this
like
stuff,
after everything
just out of
wrapped, you
curiosity.
went on to
Like, oh,
Google.
this is fascinating. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I love the first Exorcist, and the third Exorcist, which is
Yes, thank you.
just as good. It's brilliant. If anyone is watching and was turned off by the second Exorcist, just pretend that doesn't exist and just go straight from the first one to the third one, because it's nothing short of brilliant. And I think it was George C. Scott's one of his last movies.
Yeah,
too.
it was. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, and talk about an elevated Exorcist movie. William Blatley wrote and directed the third one.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone is watching who doesn't know, he's the one who wrote the book The Exorcist and the screenplay for William Friedkin's Exorcist. But he himself is really understands filmmaking and storytelling. There was I always want to call it The Ninth Gate, but that's not what it's called. That's the Johnny Depp movie. It's one that he directed. I really need to write
Ninth
this down.
Confederation. Yeah, with Stacey
yes,
Keach.
thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie, amazing dream sequences. And such a rare talent. I wish that he had directed more things. So one thing that I appreciated about, to take this back to the actual movie that we're talking about, I appreciated that Julius did try to walk that line of having moments of artistic elevation and moments of like satisfying entertainment. And I thought casting Russell Crowe was just a fantastic move, because he's the emulsifier that helps those two things blend together. Because his work is so grounded and so honest, and he brings so much gravitas to the screen, which is not, I don't think, something that a lot of modern actors possess or even would think to possess, if that makes any sense.
No,
like I yeah, like I read, so in one of the reviews, they compared Russell Crowe to Richard Burton, and I really can't think of a better comparison. It's so completely true. I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of anyone else, another actor that I would think of in that way, as having that depth and that type of background and training. Like Russell Crowe has been doing theater since he was a teenager. That's where he cut his teeth. He's incredibly knowledgeable about theater and musicals. It was amazing just to be able to talk to him about stuff like that in between takes, and to hear his perspective. I learned so much working with him.
I love that. And I mean, I hadn't heard that Burton comparison before, but now that you mention it, you're 110% right. I mean, it's so spot on. And I mean, just to put a bow on this, like, I'm kind of curious, because obviously as a working actor, you're going to get jobs that are just jobs. But I mean, even talking to you about this and talking to you about working with someone like Mike Flanagan, is it those kind of jobs where you get sort of these moments, or get to have these stories, or even, like you said, just having moments with somebody like Russell in between takes? Is that the creative payoff for you at the end of the day to keep forward and going on to the next one?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I mean, the thing with acting is that it's always evolving. Acting is, living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. It's the representation of life. So you have to live life to bring, a sense of honesty and wisdom to what you're doing, so you can tell the truth about the human condition. You can tell the truth about the people that you're playing. And when I say truth, I mean like the objective, universal truth.
Yeah, totally.
That anyone can recognize from any walk of life.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people truly respond to. And also, to work with people who understand that what they're doing is for an audience. Everything we do is for the audience, not for us.
Yeah.
It's not so we can look cool and feel good about ourselves. And, we want to give people an experience. I heard it said once that, acting, but all art really is, in a way about disturbing the comfortable and comforting the disturbed.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so beautiful, because if we're not having an effect on people, what is the point? You just watch a commercial and have the same experience.
For sure. But I mean, there's so much of what you just said in The Pope's Exorcist. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of fun. And like you said, it straddles that line. But I know you got places to be and other places to jump at too. But I just want to say thank you so much for the time today. And again, congrats on the film. Keep up the good work.
Oh, dude, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me on. This has been really a good conversation.
Okay, thank you. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.